Welcome everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm John, here's our wrap up for Elden Ring, the DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree. As we see, we beat the game, which took for fucking ever. I mean, the game could have been much longer in my opinion, because I think the game was phenomenal. But now we're going to get into that a little bit. So, I wanted to talk about the game DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, in more general terms, and not get too specific, okay? Because you get too specific, it's just this thing's gonna just fucking go on forever, okay? I mean, there's so many good things about Elden Ring proper and this DLC. It's just the best game I've ever played. It's the best game I've ever played. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about a little bit was some of the bosses, okay? There were some beautiful bosses in this. Some beautiful bosses. So you start out here. Let's go to our map a little bit. So we start out down here, right, in Scorched Ruins, actually, right, Graveside Plain. And we traveled, the first thing we did was we traveled down here and found the Western Nameless Mausoleum, which had a boss in there, the Black Jail Knight. And the Black Jail Knight was a perfect way to start off. It was almost a tutorial boss. He had it wasn't, he didn't have a lot of moves, but he had enough that it sort of got you back into the swing of things. Very like his pauses and attacks had windows, large windows for retaliation. If you got hit, it punished you. He punished you if he hit you. Not just a little hit, like half your health. This is a great way to get into the game again. And then we headed right on over to here, and we found the Scorched Ruins, and we found our first shard. Was it a shard or something like that? The thing that gives you more damage and prevents more damage for your guy, which by the way was critical in this game because of the how hard the enemies were. And during my playthrough, I did not use those for some time. I don't remember how much. I think I had maybe 6 or 8 of them before I even started using them because I thought they were temporary. I didn't know what they were. I thought it was a temporary boost like a rune arc, right? Which, by the way, we pretty much never used, but that's fine. Anyway, so we went up here to this tower settlement, which was really a castle-ish area, which is very fun, super fun. We headed over here. We went to the Northern Nameless Mausoleum. I don't believe we went there first. I think we probably went up here. We started getting a little bit more acquainted with the plot, some of the players, and the NPCs. The boss in this area here was the Dancing Lion, and it was a wonderful boss. Wonderful, great move set. You had to learn it. Little to no cheese factor in it by the boss. It was great. It was fabulous. I wrecked it by summoning 2 guys, my Mimic Tier and the dude outside the door. I totally wrecked the fucking fight. Totally wrecked it. But I got redemption when I fought him again at the end of the game right here. I think it was right here. Oh no, it was in here. Which, by the way, I made another video on because I didn't realize that I had a skull here, knowing to come back to it. And, oh yeah, I have skulls all through here. I never went here either. I might make another fucking video. Anyway, we make our way around. After that boss, that was a really cool boss. We end up going to this cathedral, meeting the dude here. But before we do that, we go into, where's that castle here? Not the Village of Flight, Ford of Reprimand. Is that where we went? I don't think so. I think it was Kesselensis is where we went next. We went down here a little bit, went up to the Church of Consolation, and we got attacked by some dude in here, which was fun. Invaded by him. Where is the... Let's see, Bonnie Village, Moonrith. Is it here? No, that's the Shadow Keep, by the way. Shadow Keep was the coolest part. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you how many cool parts there were in this game because everything was fucking amazing. Here's Kesselensis. So we were, I mean, there was just nonstop wow factors in this game. Not only from the views, from the graphics, from how you navigate through the world in order to get to areas that on the map, if you've played Elden Ring, are clearly higher than these, are lower. And so you're like, how do I get here? Right? Or if you're over here, you're at a lower area. How do I get here? A higher area? Because there's stuff there, and you know there's stuff there. And it could be one of them shards. And you really want to get that. Could be a different boss. And you really want to get that. So then you have to try to figure out how to navigate that. Where are the ladders? Where are the lifts? Do the lifts go down or up? Are there 2 lifts or 1 lift? All of the FromSoft things, you know. If there's a lift, it might go down 2 as well as up. There might be 2. You might be able to fall down. There's all these things. And then you get up really high, and then you look down in certain areas, and you can make your way all the way down. There's something there. And it just keeps going on and on and on and on. You go in here into the abyss by going through here, I believe, and Divided Falls. You go right through here into this abyss area, which is so gloomy. And the mood and the setting is fucking phenomenal. And there are winter lanterns. There are winter lanterns. And guess what? You can't kill them. But they will always kill you. So you have to sneak past them. Very fun. Very cool. There's another area down here that you can go to if you can figure out how to get through this wooded area and get past all of those winter lanterns. And then you can go into here, and there's bosses in here that are fucking phenomenal. And then you can finally get over to here, and this is just great. I mean, there are so many areas in this game where it's like, where does this go? Where does that go? Right? You fight a boss. The boss is great. The boss is just a mini boss, like in all of these nameless mausoleums. But they're very memorable. They have a great move set. Little to no cheese factor on any of them, except the last boss. And it's just all about exploration. And if you played a lot of FromSoft games, you know that you will die. Oh, yeah. And there will be powerful bosses. So you go through a particular section, and it may be what they call legacy dungeons, which are not necessarily dungeons like I would think in my mind, but dungeons as in an area with sort of a linear path, like a catacomb or a cave or something like that. And you would go through that, and you would fight the regular enemies in the area, and then you would come to a much more powerful enemy, and you had to beat that one in order to get to the site of grace, or maybe in order to get to the next area and then the site of grace. So they don't make it terribly difficult in Elden Ring or this DLC in order to get to the sites of grace. They do stick those more powerful enemies in there, but you figure out how to beat them. So if the casual fan is watching or playing Elden Ring, they may say to themselves, this game is really hard. But you and I, who play a lot of the FromSoft games, know that's not the case. The difficulty is what the difficulty is. As long as there isn't a cheese factor, or as long as the cheese factor isn't too high, of particular mobs or particular bosses, meaning directly the pillars of light coming from Mikola in the last fight with Radahn, where you can't see what Radahn is doing because the pillar of lights is just too bright. And the pillar of light interrupts your dodge, so you get hit. So the cheese factor of that boss battle is much higher than all of the other FromSoft bosses, except for one. In Bloodborne, in the DLC, when you're fighting, I think it is, who was it? I don't know. It was the dude you were fighting at Lawrence? Maybe Lawrence. When you were fighting Lawrence, I think it was Lawrence. And the first phase was fine. It was good. No cheese or very minimal cheese. And then he rips himself away from his body or something and then just sort of leaves a trail of lava wherever he goes, and you can't get out of it. So it's sort of like an RNG thing. If he goes this way, then you can combat it. If he goes this way, then you die. And there really wasn't anything else to do. In this game, if you're fighting Radahn at the end, where Mikola is doing the pillars of light, and you stay close, you can avoid most of her pillars, but it changes the timing of the dodges. So you can look to see what he's going to do. But if there's a pillar of light, you can't see it because the pillar of light's too blinding and you can't see what the boss is going to do. So the cheese factor of that is higher. You can wear all the anti-holy armor you have, which would make it a lot easier. You can use a spell that will pretty much negate all holy damage, which really, really, really would help. But now you have to redo your character just for that. I mean, not just a little bit, a lot of it. So I call that, it's not a get good situation. It isn't, because if Radahn does certain things in the second phase with Mikola, then you're fine. If he doesn't, then you die. But you don't die necessarily from him. You die from the pillar of light interrupting your dodge, so you get hit by his swipes. I mean, there's the beam of holy energy that you could get caught in and die. I mean, that's a very, very minor cheesy thing. Not even a thing. That you should be able to dodge that shit. There's the whole thing where the whole thing blows up and you get hit. You hold up your shield, right? There are ways to combat that. Cheese factor low, but those pillars of light, man, that it's a little too much. Okay, we beat him, of course, but I don't have the sense of accomplishment than I do when we learn how to get past the first phase of the Radahn fight without getting hit at all, no matter what the guy did, right? Or we could recover if we did get hit, or you know exactly why you got hit. So that kind of build up in a boss battle, that kind of trial and error and learning and timing and all of those things makes the bosses so enjoyable to beat. It gives you a sense of accomplishment. It's one of the main reasons why I play these games. And that last boss had it halfway. So there's my negative point about the game. The negative point is the second half of that Radahn fight. That is, you don't need to make anything in this game easier. You don't. You just need to understand what's happening and react accordingly and get your timing. And everybody wants to call it getting good. It's fine, getting good. There it is. If you're a casual fan, this will affect you a lot more than it will for us Souls guys. So when they nerf weapons or they nerf damage from a particular boss, who are they doing that for? I trust FromSoft to make the decisions that are right for their game. So when they do that, okay, that's fine. I mean, it's not like I'm not going to play it if you nerf damage from a boss because the devs actually think that the boss is doing an unfair amount of damage. But I mean, I don't think they should have changed anything, to be honest. I mean, everything is avoidable. Everything is, you can combat things. Now there's an RNG factor a little bit. There's a randomness that could get you caught in a certain thing, but 1 out of 5 times when you fight the boss, that will happen, and the other 4 times you actually have a shot, right? So it isn't, and then while you're losing, you're learning, you're getting your timing. But that second half of that Radon fight, it's just let's just get this fucking over with. I'm not learning anything anymore. I'm not trying to, and that's 3/4 of his health, right? So that's a good portion of the battle that is lost to me because I already learned everything the boss can do and how to combat that. In the second half, when you have the pillars of light, you can't really combat that because if you combat that by dodging away from them or into them, then you get hit by his physical attacks. And that is a little cheesy to me. It just is. More than any other boss in all of FromSoft games. To me. Only opinion. And the reason why I harp so much on this is because everything in Elden Ring proper and this DLC is so good. All of the bosses are so good. I mean, Rellana, oh my god, what a fucking beautiful boss. The 2 swords, 2 different colors, the graphics, her moves, it's so good. Some of the other bosses that were just humanoid, that you got attacked with, that you could exploit their weakness, learn their move quickly because you just fought through the whole Elden Ring game. Now you get invaded by a guy who's got a spear. You know how to deal with a spear, right? How cool. All right. So let's look at a couple of more bosses here. Ramia, Saint of the Bud. Oh my God, what a beautiful boss. NPCs. Egon, right before you fight Baal, the dragon. Holy shit, that dude is fucking nuts. How he's just like pissed at Baal. He's on his death's door, yet he still shows up in spirit form to fucking help. It's just great. It's fucking great. I liked Count Ymir. I think that's how you say that. He's in the castle or the cathedral. I liked how this whole plot played out and how he had this secret area underneath where you could go down there and it was just wonderful. It's just really really well done. It's all planned out. Everything is very very well done, very, I don't know any other way to say that. And it's just very well done. The first game is too. I mean, it's the game that before you play it, if you don't play any FromSoft games, it's just a great intro to their games. And I would argue that, okay, so before I get too far, okay, there's my good points and my bad points. There's so many good points, I can't go into them all. Otherwise, we would be here all day. So I'm not going to. I wanted to do something general, right? I didn't want to go through specific things that I thought were great. Combat, move sets, new weapons, new mechanics. I don't want to go through that stuff. I want to tell you that it's fucking awesome. And anybody out there who is thinking about playing this game. It is so good, and it's such great money well spent. It's I have nothing bad to say. Even with the end of this boss, I have nothing bad to say about it. Except for when you get through that, I think, to me, I think the last boss was great up until the second phase started. So to me, mastering the first half of that boss battle was the end of the game for me. When I finally beat the boss, okay, you win. And it ended in perfect Dark Souls fashion with some cryptic ending that doesn't really mean anything about anything because I'm not one to be able to analyze shit like that. So it was like, okay, it ended like a Dark Souls game ends. Something happened, the fire burned out. And it wasn't meaningful to me at all. What was meaningful is learning all the moves of that final boss. And we did in the first half. In the second half, we knew all the moves, we just couldn't do them because of RNG. Okay, that's it. That's it. So my experience with the DLC ends after the first phase of the Radahn fight. And it was glorious. Every boss was glorious. And I would encourage everybody out there who are playing these games, even if you're not a Souls player, like you haven't played Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Demon's Souls, you haven't played Sekiro, you haven't played whatever, to fight these bosses one-on-one. Now, do I do that? No, I don't. I mean, I do, but I don't in these playthroughs that I put up on the internet because I want the experience more than I want. I don't want to be okay. So when I play these games, I don't edit very much in terms of the amount of times I die. We'll die, and then everything is recorded. I did not include all the deaths of the Radahn fight. That's ridiculous. But all the other ones, oh yeah, they're all in there, all of them. So I think every one of these bosses would be way more fun one-on-one. Because here's a perfect example. When I went in and I summoned two dudes for that dog battle, or what is it called? I don't know. The one from the first boss over here. Right in here. This boss and the Tower Settlement. The dancing lion. When I summoned two guys and I wrecked that whole boss battle, I mean, I understand the devs did this game in such a fashion that you can summon human players as well, but I can't help but to think that the boss is meant for one-on-one battles. I mean, that's your gratification. If you just want to get through it, I can understand that, I can understand summoning people. But man, learning a boss, that was one of the great things about Sekiro, was because you can't summon. It's just you against Owl Father, you against Lady Butterfly, you against Ishin at the end. That's it. It's just you. You can't cheese that boss. You can't. No, you can't. Because that game forced you to do certain things. I like that. I like learning all of those moves. Knowing backwards and forwards exactly what you need to do to win. Oh yeah, that's great. So that's in this game too, but they also allow you to summon some people and that you can go through the whole game co-op with your friend. Oh yeah. That's great too. So, that's the wrap up. I really wish they would have did another one. I really wish they would have done more because it's just so good. But this game is literally 30 episodes long, hour to 2 hours when I'm recording these. It's long, man. And this is a DLC. Yeah. Holy shit. So I encourage everybody out there, if you haven't, buy the game, buy the DLC. You will not be disappointed if this is your thing. In my list of FromSoft games, I would say this probably should be a list of ones how to play the games. This is very forgiving. Both of this Elden Ring and the DLC is very forgiving for the player. Meaning, it's pretty easy, man. Even before the nerfs, pretty easy. The DLC is a little harder because of the mechanic that they threw in there, where the only way to really get stronger is to use these shards or whatever. And if you don't use the shards, you're really hampering your ability to negate damage. But if you take the shards and you use them, it's not any harder than any other time. It's just than the first game, than the Elden Ring proper. So Elden Ring is sort of a unique game in the base game, because if you have a problem with Margot, you can just go and do something else. And then you can come back 10 times stronger, right? It's just not that hard. Difficulty is another thing that's very, I don't know, it's whatever somebody makes up that word to be in their mind. It isn't difficult per se. None of this is difficult. It's learning and appreciating. Now, if that's difficult to you, okay. Now, what would be difficulty? Actual difficulty level. Okay. So, meaning Margot's hit does 500 damage. Well, if I lower the difficulty, Margot's hit does 200 damage. That's different. I love all the FromSoft games because I don't believe any of them have a difficulty level. They're all the same. So our range. How would I think I should be playing Dark Souls games, FromSoft games, if I'm new? Demon's Souls, Elden Ring. Elden Ring second. I really think that is true because I think this is an extremely forgiving game. Easy, if you want to say that. Okay. Probably Dark Souls 3 or Sekiro. Dark Souls 3 or Sekiro. I think Sekiro is a nice game to prepare you for Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 was difficult for me. Dark Souls 2 was difficult for me. Dark Souls 3 was not. Dark Souls 3 was probably my favorite of all of them, of the three Dark Souls games. I really liked some of those bosses a lot. I really did. Yeah, that's probably how I would do it. I'd probably do Bloodborne. Maybe I'd do Bloodborne third. Maybe I would do. Bloodborne is another one that will really help you play the Dark Souls games. Bloodborne before Dark Souls 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'd probably do that. Then Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, Dark Souls 1, 2. Probably that's the way I would do it. Probably. I think if you played Elden Ring, the first one and the DLC, from then on, it doesn't matter what order. Almost. Because you're prepared. You're prepared for the pain. Oh yeah, you're prepared for the pain. Anyway, guys, this is just a roundup of Elden Ring DLC. What I thought was relatively, just overall good about the DLC. And the one bad point about the DLC, the one bad point, and really that was it. That was all. Which, by the way, I never killed any of those torch dudes. It was like, I don't want to sit there. I have to sit there for like a half an hour whacking on that guy. Yeah, not interested. Guess what? I didn't need to. Wonderful. Wonderful. All right, guys. This is the end. Hopefully, there's another awesome FromSoft game on the horizon. Please subscribe. See you soon.